a resolution for the production of records pertaining to the failure to preserve the loss or destruction of video and/or audio evidence, and the director to report on the circumstances of the loss. Whereas a certain matter was referred to the Internal Affairs Bureau of Suffolk County Police Department, hereinafter referred to as IAB, for investigation. And whereas such an investigation is only as reliable as the information that has been provided to that investigative body, and whereas the subject matter of that investigation involved the suspected theft of a firearm from a locker in the police department of the village of West Hampton Beach, which had been assigned to a police officer, hereinafter referred to as Officer X, and whereas one police officer, herein referred to as Officer A, was suspected by Officer X based only upon past acrimonious relations, and one police officer, hereinafter referred to as Officer B, was present and on duty that day. And whereas a complete investigation of such suspicions would have included a review of digital video and/or audio recordings of the locker and locker room in question. And whereas a complete investigation of such suspicions would have included a review of digital video and/or audio recordings of the parking lot of Village Hall and of Officer X's vehicle as parked there on March 8, 2009. And whereas the relevant digital video and/or audio recordings were neither in the possession nor control of Officer A or B, and whereas it is the understanding of the Board of Trustees that the relevant digital video and/or audio recordings were never provided to IAB and were never reviewed by IAB, and whereas it is the understanding of the Board of Trustees that the relevant digital video and/or audio recordings have been failed to be preserved, lost, or destroyed. And whereas a citizen was arrested on September 7, 2009, hereinafter referred to as Citizen K, and charged with, among other things, the crime of driving while intoxicated. And whereas it is the understanding of the Board of Trustees that the vehicular stop and subsequent arrest of this citizen was recorded by digital video and/or audio recorders. And whereas it is the understanding of the Board of Trustees that approximately 4 minutes of the digital video and/or audio recordings of the September 7th stop and arrest of Citizen K have been failed to be preserved, lost, or destroyed. And whereas the failed to be preserved, lost, or destroyed digital video and/or audio recordings pertain to a pending criminal case against Citizen K, and whereas the failed to be preserved, lost, or destroyed digital video and/or audio recordings pertain to Officers A and B, who, contrary to prior resolution of the Board of Trustees, have been placed on restricted duty by the Mayor Teller and Chief of Police Raymond D. Whereas the Board of Trustees is mindful that previously, when the current mayor was the Chief of Police for the village, he was involved in a dispute with the uniformed officer of the village of West Hampton Beach, Thomas Verbeck. And whereas the circumstances of the Verbeck-Teller dispute are a matter of public record and described by the Honorable Leonard Wexler, presiding in the Eastern District of Federal District Court in great detail in his decision dated August 21st, 2009, and recorded in 158F Supplement 267. And whereas the Board of Trustees is mindful that the current Chief of Police, Raymond Dean, was a village trustee when the current Mayor, Conrad Teller, was Chief of Police. And whereas the sworn allegations of Thomas Verbeck made against Raymond Dean as then trustee were never abjugated on the merits, but were dismissed upon grounds of qualified immunity granted by law to village trustees. And whereas the sworn allegations of Thomas Verbeck against Conrad Teller, which included perjury, were never resolved at trial, but instead the village paid a substantial settlement to Thomas Verbeck. And whereas Raymond Dean, as then trustee of the village, endorsed and supported the actions Conrad Teller, as then Chief of Police, and whereas a copy of the decision of the Honorable Leonard Wexler has been appended hereto to provide a recitation of allegations contained therein. whereas the mayor now has ordered Officer A and B to be placed on restricted duty and claims he has the right to do so in his capacity of mayor. Whereas the Board of Trustees is mindful that Officers A and B and Citizen K have important rights in their employment, reputation, and liberty. And whereas the Board of Trustees is mindful that the residents of this village have a right to expect competency in all police department personnel and supervisory personnel. And whereas the past conduct attributed to Conrad Teller by Thomas Verbeck resulted in substantial liability to this village. And whereas in accordance subsection 1 of section 8-804 and section 4-412 of New York State Village Law and the Board of Trustees serves as the Board of Police Commissioners. Therefore be it resolved that the Chief of Police for West Hampton Beach Village Police Department is directed to provide to the village clerk no later than 5 days after service upon him a copy of this resolution, a copy of every report, record, memorandum, writing, or note authored by him or any subordinate in the police department, which relates to the failure to preserve, loss, or destruction of digital video and/or audio evidence with respect to the investigation of the March 8, 2009 matter involving Officer X, and which relates to the failure to preserve, loss, or destruction of digital video and/or audio evidence with respect to the arrest of Citizen K. And be it further resolved that such writings will be filed with the village clerk, together with a copy of this resolution bearing the Chief of Police's original signature, as provided at the bottom hereof, indicating that he has made diligent search of the records of the Village of West Hampton Beach Police Department, and indicating that the attached records, if any, constitute all of the records responsive to this directive. And be it further resolved that no later than the close of business on March 24, 2010, the Chief of Police is directed to file with the village clerk a written report to the Board of Trustees, which will have a title page. Report of the failure to preserve, loss, or destruction of digital video and/or audio evidence, filed with the village clerk in accordance with the resolution of the Board of Trustees dated March 4, 2010, submitted for filing by Raymond D., Chief of Police. This report is exempt from disclosure under the Freedom of Information Law, based upon Public Officers Law Section 87(2)(e), pending review of the Board of Trustees. And be it further resolved that this report will explain the circumstances attendant to the failure to preserve, loss, or destruction of the digital video and/or audio evidence relevant to the March 8, 2009 and September 7, 2009 matters that are the subject of this resolution, and such report shall include the names of all people who had possession, access, or control to access of such digital video recordings. And be it further resolved that the mayor is directed to serve a copy of this resolution upon the Chief of Police no later than 3 days after said resolution has been adopted by the Board of Trustees, and the mayor shall cause the Chief of Police to acknowledge his receipt of a copy of the resolution by signing such acknowledgement at the bottom thereof. And be it further resolved that the mayor is directed to immediately file with the village clerk the acknowledgement so executed by the Chief of Police. And be it further resolved that the village clerk shall immediately inform each and every member of the Board of Trustees by contemporaneous email that such acknowledgement has been filed. And be it further resolved, the village clerk shall immediately inform each and every member of the Board of Trustees by contemporaneous email when the report of the failure to preserve, loss, or destruction of digital video and/or audio evidence has been filed. And be it further resolved that all records produced and all filings made pursuant to this resolution shall be held as material exempt from disclosure pursuant to Public Officers Law Section 87(2)(e), pending the assessment of such records and filing by the Board of Trustees concerning the extent to which such records are to be disclosed as a public record.
Second.